It's almost like you want people to succeed, Natasha. It's
It's
like,
almost yeah, no, the way that I see it is that, we wanna be responsible with the financial support that
yes.
we're providing,
Hmm.
as a first gen student myself, um, it's great to receive money, but if you don't know how to navigate the institution, the systems, then you're still at a loss, so we wanna make sure that students feel supported.
Welcome to another episode of the New College Perspective. I'm your host, Jerica. Are you a high school student, a community college student, or a DACA student looking for a $55,000 college scholarship? Well, this is going to be the episode for you because today we have the Jack and Cooke Foundation. We're going to talk to their Dean of Scholar Support, Natasha Piñeiros. She is a first generation college graduate and a prior recipient of their undergraduate transfer scholarship. The Jack and Cooke Foundation is an amazing organization, guys, and has so many scholarship opportunities. I can't wait for you to learn more about them and then go out there and apply. Natasha, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Hi, Jerica, thank you, I'm doing just fine.
Now, I am excited actually to have another first gen graduate on the show. So, can you take a little bit of time to share with us a bit about yourself, what you studied in college, and then our favorite question that we ask all of our people that come on the show, if you have any advice that maybe our first or second gen students would find pretty helpful?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me, first of all. This is an
Yay.
amazing opportunity for students to learn about everything that's out there. I myself was born and raised in Quito, Ecuador, and I immigrated to the United States at the age of 13. So I like to call myself a first generation immigrant and a first generation college student because those two identities came with me as I transitioned to the country and as I navigated higher education in this country. And so I started my higher education journey at Bergen Community College in Northern New Jersey. And then I transferred to the College of New Jersey to study communications and a minor in Spanish. And then I moved to Maryland to get my master's degree at the University of Maryland in College Park, where I studied higher education student affairs. So I myself am a recipient of the transfer scholarship with the Jack and Cooke Foundation. I received that after graduating from a community college and then going to TCNJ.
I'm originally from Maryland as well. So when you said the Maryland part, I was like, oh, yes, this is going to be good. I'm super
Yeah.
excited to hear more about this. When you're looking back into your college experience, what advice would you say would be helpful for our first and second gen students to hear? And like you said, you identify as first gen immigrant as well as first gen college graduate. So yeah, I'm interested to see like what advice you might have for us.
Yeah. I always say that I'm great at asking questions and not great at asking for help. And I'm still
Mm,
working on that. So that would be my biggest piece of advice for students is to ask for help early and often.
mhm,
Often we don't know what we don't know. So
mhm.
we don't know what questions to ask. So it's very important to surround yourself with folks that are willing to help. These could be advisors, these could be mentors, these could be
Mhm,
sponsors. So there are a variety of opportunities when you're starting college to start asking these questions, and some of those programs are specifically designed for first generation or low income students or minoritized students of any capacity. So ask for summer bridge programs when you're ready to transition to your four-year college or to your community college, because they'll get you set up to then continue your journey of asking more questions along the way.
Yeah, no, I think that's really great. So for our listeners, the Summer Bridge program, they have a lot of great opportunities to kind of get you acclimated to being in college. And Natasha, I really think you make a really great asset to the Jack and Cook Foundation because you have all of this experience, all of this background. How long have you been the Dean of Scholar Support for the Cook Foundation?
Yeah, thank you for that. I've been with the Cook Foundation for about 2 years now.
Okay, 2 years. What advice or tips that you may have stumbled upon that would be helpful for students that are looking into applying for scholarships? Any scholarship advice you might have for us?
Yeah, I've been applying to scholarships since I was a high school student. Even before I knew that I was going to community college, I was applying to scholarships. So my biggest piece of advice would be to make it a habit to apply to scholarships. The more scholarships you apply to, the more materials you'll have. And your story is your story. So your essay for your scholarship will have components that you will also use for your essay for school, for admissions. And those components will turn into your cover letter, into material that you can use in an interview because it's your story, right? So I would say get into a habit of applying to scholarships and, make it, I don't know, a monthly habit. The more material that you have, the easier it will become because besides the demographic information that you'll fill out, most of the time what takes the longest is gathering the materials or writing that essay. And so think about it. If you applied to a scholarship and it took you 2 hours to complete that application, even if it's a small scholarship like $500, that's $500 you made in 2 hours.
You talked a little bit about like telling your story. Was it how did you work on being able to tell your story better? Were there things that were helpful to you that you think our students would find helpful as they're figuring out how to tell their story and not like, as I've mentioned on other episodes, trauma dump, just talk about how everything
Right.
is so horrible. Like, how have you found ways to tell your story?
Yeah. I anchor myself on my values and
Mhm,
my experiences a lot. So, um,
mhm,
I don't think that, every context is the appropriate context to tell every part of your story,
mhm,
right? But when you anchor yourself in who you are and your experiences, nobody can take that away from you. So, standing true
mhm,
to what you've experienced with what
mhm,
you value and your
mhm,
integrity is going to take you a long way when it comes to sharing your story. So I would journal, journal,
mm,
talk about it with friends, talk about it with a mentor or a trusted
mm,
professor or a teacher. Um,
mhm,
if there is anything like an interview coming up where you want to introduce
mm,
yourself, I always introduce myself as an immigrant, as a first generation immigrant, because it's part of my
mm,
identity. It's part of
mhm,
how
mhm,
I come to any space
mhm.
authentically. And I find that people value that a lot.
Yeah, being authentic, but also knowing what parts to show at what time, I think is really great advice. And I love that you're encouraging our listeners to do this just that. So yeah, thank you. Before we get into the full information about the Jack and Cook Foundation, I was just like, let me ask you this part, these things,
Yeah.
these questions, because I'm like, oh my goodness, you're just a wealth of knowledge. So thanks for sharing about all of
It's my
that.
pleasure. I love
Yeah.
talking about these things with my students. I do it every day.
So now I want to talk about the reason why we are here today. This is an amazing scholarship opportunity. Number one, because it's not every day that you hear about a program that has different ways to receive $55,000 in funding, right? And my goal, honestly, right now is by the end of this episode to have more first and second generation college students feel empowered to apply. That's like my goal. So I want to start at the beginning and have you, Natasha, share with our audience a little bit about the history of the Jack Kent Cooke College Scholarship and the Transfer Scholarship and when and why it was created and all of the jazz.
Yeah, yeah, this is a great story. So our foundation began thanks to the generosity of Mr. Jack Kent Cooke. He was a philanthropist, a businessman. He loved to learn. He loved the arts, and he left a bulk of his estate to establish this foundation. He
Hmm.
wanted to support exceptional students with promise to reach their full potential through the power of education.
Wow.
So we were founded in 2000, and we've
Wow.
been able to award about $304 million to about
What?
3,400 students so far.
Wow.
Our programs have been
304,000,000. That's crazy.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
it's a
stopping you
lot
there
of
because that's like a
money.
lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, school is expensive. Um,
Yeah.
as you mentioned, we have different programs at our foundation. We have a Young Scholars program, the college scholarship, the undergraduate transfer scholarship. Those three are open to the public. And then once somebody becomes a Cooke scholar, they also have access to the graduate scholarship.
Hmm.
Um, and it varies. So we have about 50 to 100 students that are selected for the transfer scholarship and the college
Okay.
scholarship each year. And to your point, it's up to $55,000. So students don't
Okay.
receive the $55,000. We're
Hmm.
considered a last dollar scholarship. So we will apply our funds up to 55, but after all aid, institutional, state, federal grants, anything like that, after all of your scholarships have been applied, we come in and cover your entire cost of attendance. So your cost of attendance is not just your tuition, fees, and books like we typically think. School
Hmm.
takes up more than that. If you're
Yes.
going out of state, if you need a flight, a round trip flight home, we cover that. If you're moving from
Wow.
the West Coast to Chicago and you've never owned a winter coat, we can cover that with a scholarship. So it's up to $55,000 and they can cover your entire cost of attendance, including health insurance.
Wow,
Mhm.
man, that is really crazy. Because you normally don't hear about scholarships that do all of
Yeah.
that, right? They're just like, okay, it's just for tuition and fees. But you're just like, okay, but I need a ticket or I need, as you said, a winter coat or something like that. So there's a lot to unpack here too, which is you mentioned it's usually like 50 to 100 scholars are selected. How is it, determined that one year it's 50 or the next year it's like 60 scholarships? Like how is the number of scholars selected determined?
Yeah, so I mentioned Mr. Cook's estate. So our
Mhm.
funds come from our investments from that estate. So the number of recipients varies on how our investments are doing. So our best year, we took in 100 students um,
Wow.
because our investments were doing well, but we typically take about 55 or 60 students per scholarship.
Okay, yeah, so we're gonna root for, like, really great investments
Yes.
every time so we can, like, surpass 100 or
Yeah.
something like that. But that makes sense, and so, another question I had was, like, how many students apply each year for the varying scholarships and then make it as a semifinalist? Like, what's that
Sure.
breakdown as well?
Yeah. So, for the college scholarship, we might get around like 3,000 to 7,000 eligible applications. And of those, between 400 to 600 will make it to semifinalists.
Okay.
And for the transfer scholarship, we receive about 1,000 eligible applications,
Mhm.
and about the same will select between 400 and 500 semifinalists.
It's a lot of opportunity, I would say, like, to get out there and have the students apply, and,
Yes,
you
please, please. It sounds like
yes.
big numbers, but, don't close doors on yourself. Please apply.
Yes, yes. Well, I've seen some other crazier numbers, let's say.
Yeah.
So this is actually these are great odds, especially if our students put into practice some of we've had some people in the other episodes talk about like how to write your scholarship essay and
Mhm.
all of those things. They put all of that into practice. These are some really great odds to help with that last funding amount. That's really important. And so, you talked a little bit about what the funding can be used for. Can you expand just kind of like so the students can see a full breakdown of how the funding can be used?
So beyond, tuition fees and books and, health insurance and your winter coat, we can also cover, a laptop or a device that's necessary for your
Okay.
institution. Depending on your major, you might need something very specific, so we provide a computer
Mhm.
stipend to cover that. While you're studying, you might want to study abroad or scholarship covers study abroad. We're talking
Wow.
about professional development through informational interviews, right? So we also
Wow.
have a separate stipend that students can apply for to go to a conference. We have another stipend that is very popular, only available during the summer terms, for example. It's our summer internship stipend. And
Mhm.
students can benefit from the stipend if they intern at a nonprofit or government agency, unpaid
Okay.
over the summer. So instead of having that organization pay them, we provide them with the stipend. Yeah, that's specifically funding. There are other benefits, like the community aspect of the foundation and being a Cook Scholar, but in terms of the money portion, these are the opportunities that students can also look into.
This is really great. I love how expansive this is. And just to clarify, when you're talking about the last dollar funding, which we spoke about a couple of minutes ago, it's just once you've completed you've gotten your package from the school and they say, okay,
Mhm.
we're going to give you 10,000, but you need, let's say the school's 30,000, you need additional 20,000. That's when you guys would come in and say, okay, we can cover the rest of that.
Correct. So it's 55,000. You have up to 55,000 per academic year. So the
Oh,
academic year
wow.
begins in the summer. Um,
Wow.
and
Wow.
we
I'm saying
divide
wow because
it.
this is crazy.
Yeah, yeah, it's per academic year. So,
Okay.
we go through a process, all scholars will go through a process of completing a worksheet with their financial aid advisor. So, financial
Okay.
aid will put in that worksheet, "You've received these scholarships,
Hmm.
you've received these grants,"
Hmm.
not loans. Loans are considered financial aid, but loans you have to pay back. So, anything that you do not have to pay back goes into the worksheet. And
Okay.
then whatever you
Okay.
have remaining from your cost at the institution, we will come in and cover everything else.
You're probably gonna hear me say "wow" a lot on this episode because it's really great. I wish I had heard about
Yeah,
this when
yeah,
I was going to school. And so, you touched on a little bit, but I want to have you talk a little bit more about it, the benefits of being a Cook Scholar. Um, what additional benefits would you say, that you've experienced yourself about being a Cook Scholar?
yeah. My favorite part of being a Cook Scholar is the community. You know, I've
Mhm,
made really great friends and colleagues over the years. I received the scholarship in 2015, so I've been
mhm.
connected to the foundation since 2015.
Wow.
So the scholar community is growing, it's expansive, it's within the United States and abroad. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
definitely my personal favorite component,
Mhm.
beyond the scholarship, the monetary, of course. Um, but when you're a scholar, you can also apply for tutoring funds, for example.
What? Wow.
You can also benefit from support when you're applying for graduate school and you have to take an exam. So if you have to take the GRE, if you have to take the LSAT, we have programs like the Princeton Review or Magoosh that students can benefit from to prep for that those graduate requirements, those graduate school requirements. I mentioned the graduate scholarship very briefly, but that's another $150,000 scholarship that students will
Wow.
be eligible for once they're a Cook Scholar. So that's really big. We help scholars get ready for graduate school. We have some
Mhm,
consultants that help our students with their scholarship applications. I am
mm,
a dean of scholar support, so I work individually with students to help them throughout
mhm,
their entire time at their
mhm.
institutions. And when they become graduate scholars, they also have somebody that works with them one on one throughout their time in graduate school.
It's almost like you want people to succeed, Natasha. It's
It's
like
almo yeah, yeah, no, the way that I see it is that, we wanna be responsible with the financial support that we're
yes.
providing, you know?
Mhm,
As a first-gen student myself,
mhm.
um, it's great to receive money, but if you don't know
Mhm.
how to navigate the institution, the
Yes.
systems, then you're still at a loss, you know? So we wanna make sure that
Yes.
students feel supported. We have a cohort we're very intentional about connecting students with each other when they're in similar regions and stuff.
Mhm.
I meet with them minimum once per term. Um,
Wow.
and so we wanna make sure that they have the proper follow-up. I go visit their campuses.
Mhm.
I get to know the resources that are available to them at their different institutions. I connect with, different offices, get to know their campuses, and so over time, that accumulates and that allows us to help students in the best way that we can, not just with the money.
Yeah, no, and I remember getting some financial aid and scholarships, fellowships, and yeah, they can give you a lump sum, but it's like, okay, what are you actually supposed to do with it? How can you make this
Yeah.
money work for you and that it's benefiting you? So the fact that you guys are giving like Magoosh and GRE and tutoring funds, it's you're really stating to the students, hey, funding is best used for this. Like if you use it for tutoring, it's really going to help you. And maybe a student that just receives the money may not be thinking in that way
Mhm.
for a different type of scholarship because they just have a lump sum, in their
Yeah,
hand.
we try to have those follow-ups. It's a minimum of once per semester to meet with
Hmm.
us, but
Hmm.
that's not limited. My students can text me. They can schedule appointments whenever
Wow.
they want to meet with me.
Hmm.
They also have the support of our alumni community. We have
Hmm.
different programs that are just for scholars,
Hmm.
programs for alumni to build community. I'm having brunch and going pumpkin picking actually in a couple of weeks with some
Yay.
alumni that are in Philadelphia, so I'm still
Hmm.
connected. But we have different programs to help students not just navigate those topics like what do I do with the money, with the refund check
Hmm.
that I received, for example, um,
Hmm.
but how do you navigate the institution? How do you, like I was saying earlier, how do you talk about your values and your interests,
Hmm.
your career interests, your academic skills in a resume, in an
Hmm.
interview? So throughout the academic year, we provide different programming for students that they can sign up for. So there's different level of engagement, different levels of time commitment.
Hmm.
We use Canvas also as a resource. We have to be a little bit more
Wow.
creative because we're not an
Hmm.
institution, but we do have
Yeah.
Canvas as a resource hub for our students to log in and take a look at what we consider to be appropriate for them to
Hmm.
review at their different levels throughout the academic year. So they meet with us once per term, but they also have access to all of these resources on an ongoing basis.
Yes, yes. And guys, this is why you need to apply because you can see it just it this you start in the beginning like you receive the funding, but it extends to so many other aspects and I just think that this resource is amazing. So Natasha, you guys are doing amazing work. Keep it up.
Thank you.
And I now want to just spend some time talking about the varying scholarships. I know we spent a lot of time just kind of like just talking in general about college and the overview of the Jack and Cook Foundation scholarships. But I want to now break it down and talk about two scholarships. So, if it's okay with you, we're going to talk first about the undergraduate college scholarship and then about the transfer scholarship so that our students really feel prepared to apply and know all the things that they need to be successful. Does that sound cool?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Let's start with the Jack and Cook College Scholarship. Can you talk a little bit about the eligibility? Are there any major requirements, citizenship requirements, and then the undergraduate application open and close dates? So all the
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. So let's start with the deadlines. So the college scholarship is already opened. It opened August 22nd and it closes November 14th. You can find it in the Common App. We want to make it as easy as
Okay.
possible for students to find it. So you can find it there, or you can just go to our website and you'll find a link. Part of the eligibility does require an unweighted GPA of a 3.75 for
Okay.
college scholarship applicants and a family API adjusted gross income of 95,000 or below. No citizenship is required. It's one of the few
Wow.
scholarships that is open to undocumented students, documented students, international students. But the
Wow.
requirement is that a student must have attended high school in the United States for all 4 years. That's on our eligibility.
Wow. That's really great. So is there like a minor or major requirement?
Not at all. We allow students to pick what they want to study and where they want to study. So, besides that basic eligibility, we want to make sure that students are academically curious. So, that'll be a component in your scholarship that you want to address. We want to have our scholar community that has taken on leadership roles and will continue to take on leadership roles. So, whatever that means for you. It could be in a school club, but it could also be at home, in your church, through
Mm-hmm.
extracurriculars, through volunteering, even if having to take care of your younger siblings, for example, takes you away from your ability to
Hmm.
partake in school activities. Please say that. It's part of what we're looking for, right? We're also looking for students who have shown persistence in their education. So
Hmm.
that could be any obstacle that you may have faced. But showing persistence or resilience in the pursuit of your academic goals is what we're looking for. A lot of our students or our recipients have participated in coursework. About 95% of recipients will have participated in honors coursework.
Okay.
Dual enrollment is also very popular
Mhm.
lately, so you wanna put in all of that, information in your application.
I love how you're saying, like, put everything in there because there could be
Mhm.
barriers that normally other people wouldn't consider, but you're like, "No, we consider that because we know how taking care of, for example, your siblings could impact your ability, to do all the extracurricular activities as well." So, I think that's really good.
Exactly.
Once our students, they go on the Common App, and so it's a part of the Common App, there's just like a you just go on there and you type in Jack
Jack
and
and
Cook.
Cook Foundation. Mhm.
Okay, and then you apply through there, and then there are essays as well in this part? Um,
Yeah, there will be some open-ended questions.
okay.
So definitely make sure that you take a look at the questions, that you draft them ahead of time. Give yourself
Mhm,
enough time to draft them. Get a second pair of eyes to review for no mistakes.
mhm.
And take a look with this scholarship and with any other scholarship. Make sure that you adhere to the word count or character count.
Okay.
Right?
Mhm.
So, just take a look at that for sure. We're also asking for, 2 letters of recommendation,
Okay.
besides that essay, and you'll have an opportunity to share, like I mentioned, all of the leadership and extracurricular
Mhm.
opportunities that you're engaging in, as a student.
Okay, okay. So, if we break it down into stages per se, so you go on the Common App, you apply, there's an essay, and you also need at that time to submit your letters of recommendation, is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. And usually, what advice would you have for, like, letters of recommendation? What types of people would be helpful to have write these letters? Is it just your school
Yeah.
counselor, or are there others that you think are things that students need to be thinking about when they're trying to, do their letters of recommendation?
For sure. We ask for 2 academic-based recommendations, so this
Oh,
could be a
okay.
teacher, this could be, an academic, advisor,
Okay.
but making sure that they can speak to your academic abilities.
Can you walk us through, like, the rest of the is there the next step, I guess?
Once you're selected as a semifinalist, we're going to ask more financial information just to make sure that students are eligible.
Okay.
Remember the deadline is November 14th for the college
Mhm.
scholarship. A couple of hundred scholars are going to receive the semifinalist notice.
Mhm.
We're going
Yeah.
to make that information public on our website, and so
Mhm.
they'll be able to know that they're moving on to the next round. And then the final number of college scholars are going to be announced in April of 2025.
Wow. Okay, so talk to me a little bit about the semifinalists to finalists. What happens in between there? Is that just is additional essays needed? I know you talked about finances are needed, but like once you make
Yeah.
semifinalists, what happens? Do you just wait until April, or are there other things that you have to do, like an
Uh,
interview or something?
yeah, so, no further items to submit, no
Okay.
interviews, no essays. We're just going to, send out the list of the semifinalists, and we'll ask for more of that financial information then. But that's pretty much it. We just wait for the
Yeah.
semifinalist list, and then, from the semifinalists, then they'll know in April. So
Wow.
about 400 to 600 students will know that they're semifinalists, and from that pool, we'll select our scholarship recipients.
Oh man, that's really cool. Okay, and so is there an area that you find with all of your experience that's normally a bit tricky for applicants when they're applying? Any advice or for those tricky parts?
Yeah, like I mentioned, make sure that you're taking a look at the word count or character count
Okay.
to make sure that you adhere to that.
Mhm.
Also, we get a lot of questions about test scores, but we're completely test blind, so we're not accepting
Okay.
any standardized tests for our
That's
application.
awesome. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I would
Mhm,
just, make sure that you start ahead of time, that you get somebody else to review your application,
mhm.
and, be yourself, be honest
Yes.
about all of the effort that you put in for your
Mhm,
goals, for your academic, achievements, your
mhm,
passions, the responsibilities that you have at home and in school, because we really wanna get to know you.
mhm.
So, for this scholarship or for any, don't write what you think that your school or your scholarship provider wants you to write. We want to get to know you. We want to know how unique you are and what you bring to the community. So, please be honest and write about all that effort that you put in.
And once a Cook College scholar wins, right? What happens? Like of course, they made it to the semifinalists. Their names are on the website, and
Yeah.
then now they receive it. What happens? Like, what's the next?
We celebrate.
Yay!
We love hearing, seeing that list come every year, so,
Yeah.
we'll announce typically, I've seen that we'll announce our college scholarship recipients first and then our transfer scholarship recipients, but we do send out a list publicly on our website of the
Mhm,
names of the scholars, unless, of course, they opt out of any media announcements.
mhm,
And so they'll get an official, notification from the foundation.
mhm.
Some schools will, like to surprise students, with
Yeah.
the notification, so that just varies though. And then all scholarship recipients will be invited to what we call Scholars Weekend, which is an
Okay.
in-person conference that we have every summer in Northern Virginia. So everything paid for. We transport you to Scholars Weekend. You get to meet other Cook scholars. You get to meet some
Wow.
alumni that volunteer with us every year. You get to meet us and all of our team in person, and we take
Yeah.
that time, to teach you all about the benefits of being a Cook Scholar. You get the opportunity to ask in-person questions to
Mhm.
us, to our finances team, get all of those things sorted out before the academic year starts. Our alumni have workshops that they offer. We have an opportunity for you to get to know other alumni that are in different fields all around. So,
Wow.
that's something to look forward to for sure once you become a Cook Scholar. It's Scholars Weekend.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. That's like a great party and celebrating, to come
Yeah.
from all those applicants down to this great group of people. I want to now talk a little bit about the Cook Undergraduate Transfer Scholarship. And this one is very exciting for me, not just because it's a transfer scholarship, but because you've actually received it. And so we have you on the show to talk to us about it. Did it ever feel crazy knowing like in 2015, your whole world changed because of the transfer scholarship?
Yeah, yeah, 2015 was quite the year. I was very, very busy, involved at my community college,
Mhm.
and I was actually called into the president's office. I was very involved. I was in student government,
Yeah.
I was in our honor society, and I was randomly called into the president's office, and I knew I wasn't in trouble,
Yeah.
and it wasn't, new for me to be involved with, uh, different
Yeah, the
cabinet
front
members.
office. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I went up there and I was waiting with my friend Maria, and, then they brought us in, and in a round table, very serious, they told us that we were recipients of the Jack and Cook Scholarship, the transfer scholarship. So,
Wow.
that was a really nice announcement, for us and a really
Yeah.
great surprise. So, I
And who
called my
did
parents right away
Yeah.
to tell them the news.
Oh, man, what was, like, going through your mind when that happened? Like, when you found out, like, that was happening? Like
Yeah, I mean, kind of disbelief,
Mhm.
because the year prior to me, so 2014 was the first time that my community college received 2 recipients,
Oh,
for that scholarship,
wow.
and,
Okay.
we knew those girls,
Yeah.
Maria and Anna.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, it was really surreal to know that I gave myself that chance, that all of the hard
Yes.
work was being recognized, and I was going to continue having the ability to not pay for college now thanks to the Cook Foundation.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I'm excited for our students to just hear all the things about this transfer scholarship. Can you talk to us again about the eligibility, major requirements, your citizenship, the dates, open and close, all of that, and then we'll ask some more questions.
Yeah, we'll go through all of it. So, again, you can access the Cook Undergraduate Transfer Scholarship through the Common App. So it's
Okay.
just like as if we were another institution. You can search us in the
Okay.
Common App, or again, go on our website and you can find the link.
Mm-hmm.
It just opened October 3rd, okay?
Woohoo!
And it closes January 9th. So
Okay.
make sure that you give yourself ample time to
Mhm.
work through it. It looks like a long amount of time, but you wanna make sure that you're mindful
Yes.
of that scholarship's due January 9th. We're also looking for, a GPA, an unweighted GPA of a 3.5. This is,
Okay.
a new GPA for transfer scholars, so just keep that in mind. New GPA
Okay.
of 3.5 minimum, and a family AGI again of 95,000 or below. No
Okay.
citizenship is required again, so long as the students have attended a community college in the United States. Um,
Oh,
Students who have already enrolled in a four-year university won't be eligible. So just keep that in mind. And you must be entering your four-year institution in the fall. Students that want to transfer in
okay.
the spring won't be considered. Um, a lot of our students, again, because we're an academic community, will
Mhm.
have participated in Phi Theta Kappa and PTK, the
Okay.
International Honor
Mhm.
Society in community
Mhm.
colleges, but it's not a requirement at all. And same thing, so academic curiosity, persistence,
Mhm.
leadership positions, being involved in communities.
Mhm.
So sharing all of that in your application is essential.
One of the questions that popped into my brain is like, do you have to apply? Let's say I'm an undergraduate right now. Do I have to apply to my 4 year in order to apply to this? Or do I apply to this, receive it, and then apply to the 4 year?
Yeah, you typically apply to our scholarship at the same time that you're applying to your transfer institution.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you don't necessarily have to be admitted yet. We'll ask you that in the application
Mhm.
if you have received any notices,
Mhm.
but you don't have to be admitted by those institutions. We'll ask you for a list of colleges that you're applying to.
Okay, okay. Now this is good. And so the other question I've seen a lot is like what qualifies as a transfer student? Can you talk a little bit about that nuance? Because I'm sure there's people out there just like, wait, I qualify or I don't qualify. Um, what
Yeah.
qualifies for you guys as a transfer student?
Sophomore status. So ask your
Okay.
institution what that means.
Okay.
But it's typically you have at that point of applying, you will have already
Mhm.
completed 30 credit hours.
Okay.
Um, so by the time that you graduate, it's typically more, but at the time that you're applying, you will have already completed 30 credit hours.
Okay, that's so good. That is exactly these are the questions that our students have asked. So I'm just like, okay, as it gets down to the nuance, because this is a really
Yeah.
cool option. There's not a lot of transfer scholarships out there. So the fact that this one exists is really, really great.
And throughout the
Um,
application, you can always ask questions. Our email is
okay,
scholarships@jkcf.org. So that's scholarships in plural at
okay.
jkcf.org for any questions along the way.
Can you talk a little bit about the stages for the transfer scholarship? How does that work? I know there's a lot of
Yeah.
similarities.
Yeah, similar, there aren't any stages. We're going to, receive your application by January 9th, and
Mhm.
then we're going to send out a list of semifinalists.
Okay.
Then you'll know, um, if you made it to the next round.
Okay. And
But
usually
no
you said
interview
semi
of any type.
Okay, so no interview for any type, and then, how many semifinalists are normally selected for the transfer one? You were saying it's the same amount?
Yeah, similar, like 400 to 500 semifinalists.
Okay. Is there any tricky parts of the application that you found for the transfer part of it that people get a little bit, confused about that you think would be helpful?
Yeah, so a reminder, we're test blind. Even if you attend a community college, we're not going to ask you if you've taken any standardized tests in high
Okay.
school.
Mhm.
Something that is a little bit more tricky with our transfer scholars because they vary in age,
Mhm.
um, is that we'll ask for your last 3 years of your financial information. So,
Yes.
um, if a student is under 30 years old, we're going to ask for your family's financial information,
Okay.
even if they don't support you financially. So, do keep that in mind. But other than that, it's going to be similar, some essay prompts, the opportunity for you to share about your leadership
Mhm.
opportunities, ways that you've contributed to your community, um, and everything else. Again, same as the college scholarship.
Okay, perfect. So then once the scholarship, the undergraduate scholarship and the transfer scholarship recipients are selected, both of them come to the same scholar weekend, or are there different weekends for different scholarship recipients?
Same weekend. So
Okay.
you get to meet scholars that, for example, were young scholars and also got the college scholarship. You get to
Oh,
meet brand new college scholars, brand new transfer scholars. You get to meet
wow.
alumni that volunteer that weekend,
Mhm.
and you get to meet us. So it's a big weekend full of lots of learning, lots of celebrating.
Yeah.
We encourage a lot of sleep, but it doesn't always happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be it's a lot of fun to see everybody that's made it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, a lot of our listeners know I've received a lot of full rides as well. And so when they bring everybody together, it's like a party. It's like, yay, we're all here. This is great. Like all of our
Yeah.
hard work is paid off. And you are usually around really cool people. So you don't want to sleep because it's like, wait, you did this and you did this and
My
you're just as
gosh.
hardworking. Like, tell me more. I want to know about your life. And then you become friends for life because I'm still friends with a lot of the people that
Exactly.
I met. So I definitely feel you. So this is a great opportunity. Can you talk a little bit about the DACA students or undocumented students that might be trying to apply to this scholarship, whether it's the transfer or the undergraduate? What types of things have you heard that they need to consider? You could just speak to them about like things that might be going through their mind that they need to think about when applying for this opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. It's scary to apply as an undocumented student, or in DACA. So we definitely recognize that. But everything that you submit is going to be absolutely confidential.
Okay.
It's not going to weigh any differently than somebody with a permanent residency or a citizenship status. Um, So yeah, please apply, give yourself the best shot, be vulnerable about your journey to get here if that's relevant to your persistence and academic achievements and academic goals. Please apply, but do not worry about the information on your citizenship status. It's not going to deter us at all from moving you on to the next stage.
That's really good to hear because that's not I know a lot of our students do have that concern. So this is really good that you're saying like, nope, just get out there and apply. So guys, get out there and apply. It's time for our lightning round of common questions. These are questions I have actually received from students, and it will be a mix of transfer and undergraduate scholarship questions. And so does that sound good to you? Just to get it out there and get some of these questions answered.
Sounds good?
Okay, perfect. Okay, so the first one people have asked, what's your favorite scholarship program memory? Yeah, memory that you've had from your scholarship time, your favorite one?
Yeah, definitely my first scholars weekend, very hard to beat. I met a lot of really great people that weekend that are still in my life now.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, I keep seeing this word applying to a selective college and university. Can you talk a little bit about like what qualifies as a selective college university, and is that actually a requirement?
It's not a requirement, but we want the best experience for our scholars. And there's a lot of data and research that suggests that selective institutions have more resources for students, lower faculty ratios, more funding, more opportunities outside of the classroom. So we're not going to limit you on where you want to go. You can go study wherever you want to study and study whatever you want to study. We just encourage you to give yourself the best opportunity at a quality education.
Yeah, no, that sounds really good. And I think I've heard like when you go to those types of highly selective universities, they have a lot of funding to help you with other things too, right?
Absolutely. Our scholars receive a lot of funding outside of our scholarship. They're bright and independently of us. So
Mhm.
definitely give yourself a chance at getting not just funding, but the best opportunity academically and professionally. You want to be prepared for what you want to study. So if that's staying in state, going out of state, private or public, do that with the help of an advisor. Ask a lot of questions in admissions, right? Once
Mhm.
you know if you're a finalist, you can also use that information in your favor. Tell them that you're
Mhm.
a semifinalist for the Cook Foundation
Yes.
and use that as
Uh-huh.
leverage. We do that on purpose.
Yes.
So give yourself as many opportunities as you can, and once you are selected as a scholar, and if you haven't, we hope that you have picked your dream school. But if you're still waiting to hear back, this is mostly for our transfer scholars. If
Mhm.
you're waiting to hear back, or if you're in between institutions, once you become a scholar, you can also ask us questions and we can guide you in the best direction, especially once you have your financial aid package, and we can help you with that as well.
Okay, so I saw often about like financial need and needing an AGI before uh AGI under $95,000 for the past 3 years. Can you break it down very simply? Like, what are the 3 years for this year?
Yeah, the last 3 years, so 2023, 2022, and 2021.
Okay, awesome. And then on the application itself, it breaks it down even clearer so that
Yeah,
people.
it'll be very
Okay.
explicit what we need from you for sure. And again, if you have
Okay.
any questions, we're going to be available via phone, via email to answer before the deadline.
Perfect. Okay, next question. Does funding go to you or is it to your institution?
Great question. The funding does not go to students; it goes directly to the institution. We have a whole process to guide students to work with their financial aid office. They give us their entire cost of attendance, the students' cost of attendance, all of their financial aid, all of their costs, and we receive that. We have a finances team that works directly with each student and each institution to understand how is it that we're going to apply the funds. Again, it's up to $55,000 that you can receive, but not all students receive that because you have other aid. But
Mhm.
we go through a whole process, and we're going to walk you through every step of the way.
Okay. And then the last question I have for those that become Cook Scholars, the graduate scholarship. Can you talk a little bit about that? I know it's 105,000. Is it per year? Any other benefits that you would say
Yeah.
for graduate scholars?
Yes, so it's actually 150,000.
Oh,
So,
okay.
it differs from our undergraduate scholarships. For the college scholarship and the undergraduate transfer, it's $55,000 each year. So for the
Oh,
college scholarship is up to 4 years, and
mhm.
for the transfer scholarship, it's 2 years up to 3 years of funding,
Okay.
depending on the need. For the graduate scholarship, once students, become Cook Scholars and they're eligible for the scholarship, it's different. It's one lump sum of $150,000. And each year there's a cap of 75,000 that they can use. So it works a little bit different. But they will also have individualized advising. They will continue to have access to our
Mhm.
summer internship stipend, to our conference and travel stipend, to the Cook community. We have programming for alumni as well, who are considered graduate scholars. So
Mhm.
all of that individualized support and community they'll continue to receive.
Man, I love that. So much information. This is good. This is good. You did it. You did the lightning round.
Thank you.
Um, okay, so before we head off, can you give us the application deadline one more time for the undergraduate and then the transfer scholarships so that our students can get out there and apply?
Yes. So for the college scholarship, you're looking at November 14th. Okay, that's coming up
Yep.
soon. And for the transfer scholarship, January 9th.
Awesome. November 14th for the undergraduate and then January 9th for the transfer scholarships. Guys, first and second gen students, students that are listening far and wide, please get out there and apply to these amazing last funding opportunities. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Jerica. Have a good day.